Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing another Rimworld one since the last one ended. We're doing another vanilla run with none of the DLCs, but this time we're going to be doing the Lost Tribe scenario. Now this scenario is a little bit harder, but it is my personal preference, just because I feel like it's easier to get set up with the lower technology and then progress as you go. Alright, for site selection, we're gonna put ourselves in this little plain down here by this road. But kind of still a little bit away, just because I want some privacy from people, and there's a lot of other settlements that are focused on the roads. And if we get not on the road, we'll probably get a lot of traders, so yeah, so we're gonna have people come a little bit out of the way for us. Alright, our first colonist is going to be Aardvark. He is a tribe child and a stew keeper. He does have the traits Too Smart and Bloodless, so that's going to have something that we're going to have to keep an eye on. He does start with a longsword, and his strongest skill is cooking, followed by melee. He's also got decent plants and construction, so he's going to be good. Alright, our next colonist is going to be Donkey. He is a budding artist and a logger. And going off of that, his highest skills are plants and artistic. He has the nimble trait and doesn't have a lot of decent skills. He's got okay melee, but mostly we're grabbing him for the plants. Next up we have White. She is a tribe child and an excavator with the kind trait. She has a passion for shooting, melee construction, and mining, and has decent skills in all of them. She's also got above a 3 in plants and crafting, so she is a pretty good colonist. No bad traits and good skills. She's going to be irreplaceable for colony building, which requires basically both construction and mining, so she's a really good person to have. Alright, our next colonist is going to be Black. She is a hideaway and a gatherer. And she's got the traits Tutao, I don't know how to pronounce that, Night Owl, and Iron-Willed. Night Owl and the Iron-Willed are good, and this one over here basically means that she doesn't like drugs. She has a double passion in plants and crafting, and pretty good skills in both, but a highest in crafting. And she's got good intellectual, which is going to be great because the win con for this is going to be to launch a ship into the sky. Green is our last tribe member. He was a tribe child and a cave builder. He has the traits ascetic, body purist, and gay. He has a passion in shooting and mining and construction and plants, but he has 5 medical, so his role is mostly going to be tribe doctor. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start constructing or planning out the house that our colonists are going to live in. We're going to start off with individual rooms right off the bat, because if I don't start off with individual rooms, then everyone's going to be sharing a room, and I will forget to make them individual rooms, and then everyone will be upset. We're also going to add a main room on here to act as a work room / rec room, and later we're going to build a storage room off to the side. And we're going to be building this all out of wood because we're going to get wood from the planting of the fields that we're going to do. And we're going to floor it as well, just to have that additional buff. So here we're going to build the workroom and rec room, and we're going to bring it down and make it nice and big. We're going to put a door on there so they can, get in. And then we're going to add some dining room tables and stools, that's what they're called. And we're putting down a lot because sometimes caravans can come and use your dining tables and we want to be hospitable. But also we're going to try and recruit to our colony to grow our numbers because having babies is actually a feature of one of the DLCs, that being biotech. So recruitments is going to be how we're going to grow our numbers. And we're just going to set up some hoop stones and some Game of boards. And we're going to floor this place up and add a storage room. So there's that base, ready to build. We are ready to get going. The next thing we're going to want to do is do the field. So the first crop we're going to want to grow is rice. And I read somewhere that you should have about 7 by 7 rice per colonist. And since we have 5, we're actually going to do 6 7 by 7. So that's going to be 14 by 21. And that'll give us enough rice per colonist without immediately plunging us into the problem of, oh no, we have too much rice, where are we going to put it? And that will allow us to build up a little stock in case something like a cold snap or a heat wave happens and our crops can't grow anymore. We're also going to have 2 other patches of growing zones. One for heal root, and one for cotton. And we're going to use that to make medicine and clothing. Alright, and now that we've planned it out, our pawns are going to build it. I love watching them build stuff. It's like having an ant farm and watching the ants construct their little anthill. It's amazing. And now we've finished our house. After a few days on the 15th of December, we finished planting our crops and were able to name our colony and faction. I've decided to name our faction the Reborn because we were a scattered tribe, but we will use what resources we have left to expand and rebuild, and we will take the world as it comes. And the Reborn, yes, that will be our faction name. And for our colony name, I just randomized and named us the White. And ready? Unfortunately, a few days later, despite our optimism, a couple of our colonists got malaria, namely Aardvark and White. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put them on bed rest and have them sleep it off. As you can see right now, bed rest is second priority. We're gonna move that up to 1 and keep them in bed and have Green tend to them. And hopefully they are able to pull through. On the 3rd of April, our first trader arrived, and we traded them the buffalo that had self-tamed, but we hadn't built a pen for yet, bought all of their available pemmican, and then sold off some of the leather from hunting that we didn't really have the space to store. Still, we were at a negative amount of gold, and that wasn't ideal, but there's not really much we can do about it, so we're just gonna have to accept that deal. The next day, on the 4th, White and Aardvark both developed immunity to malaria, securing them to malaria. Later that same day, we set out our cooking bills, which are to cook 40 simple meals and then produce pemmican basically forever, just because I feel like there's no reason not to produce pemmican if we have the ingredients. It lasts just way longer. And we're also going to start constructing an animal pen, and Donkey and Black have become lovers. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all of these single sleeping spots and replace them with a double one so they can sleep together and get that mood buff. And again, here I'm grateful that I'm not playing with the biotech DLC right now, because with no consequences and we don't need to worry about them getting pregnant. Yeah, so we're working on finishing the pen, and once we finish the pen, we're going to domesticate some animals. And yeah, we're gonna basically get infinite meat, and so yeah, and we're going to actually auto-cut in the pen, just as like sort of a consistent source of wood while we wait for our growing zone to grow wood, so yeah, we're gonna do that. Now comes the very important question. Which animals are we going to tame and put in this new penwave build? The answer, muffalos. Muffalos would be a good choice if we had the skill to tame them. So instead, what we're going to do is... It's an excellent question. We're going to tame some other things while we wait to increase that skill. Or, what we could also do is just recruit someone with a high animal skill. But in the meantime, we're going to mine out this steel vein so we can make research benches and other production. And once we get those research bench steel that we need, we're going to put them there. Alright, we've built our research benches, and now we get to select the research. We're going to build complex furniture, because right now we're sleeping on the ground. And we don't want to do that forever, so our goal is going to be to do that. And here's some of our colonists just... And now we have some good news. Marriage is on. Donkey and Black have decided to get engaged. And then on the 2nd of August, one day while we were sowing in our fields, we received an offer. An offer for a gigolo named Gnungfer wanted to join our colony. He is a pizza lover and a gigolo. And right after he joined, we finished complex furniture and moved on to stone cutting. The problem with building furniture and buildings out of wood is that wood is flammable. So from now on, we're going to want to build as much of our colony out of stone as possible, except for the furniture. We've also decided to tame the 2 ibex rams to give us a source of meat and hopefully something to work on that will increase our taming skill. And we're just going to have White just finish constructing the beds so everyone can sleep in a bed tonight. We can't have Black and Donkey sleeping on the floor, so we're gonna draft them to wake them up and send them to bed. We're gonna do the same with Gnungfer. And here we all are, peacefully existing, when the Kuro Treaty decides to send 3 people to raid us. How rude. They're attacking immediately, so we're going to gather our people and go and confront them. And, well, they're fast, they're already here. We're gonna line up here and hopefully flank them as we're actually gonna move over here and then let them come around the building so that we can sort of flank them and hopefully get some cover from the rock right there. And they've set our house on fire. See, this is what I was saying about building houses out of wood. Yeah, so we're gonna have our people just go and deal with that. And it seems like the fire is out because it's raining pretty heavily, so we're just gonna take out this last person here. And then we've won the raid, even if some of our colonists got pretty beat up. We've won the day. And since we now have these raider bodies just lying on our lawn, making our colonists sad whenever we walk by them, we're going to build ourselves a graveyard. Now we're going to use that to bury the bodies of our enemies until we figure out something better to do with them. And the something better would be figuring out how to build an incinerator. But from what I've seen of the tech tree, that's pretty far out, so we're just going to use grave. And just like that, colony life returns to normal. And then later, on the 11th of August, we finished stone cutting. Having finished stone cutting, we decided that our next research would be complex clothing in order to clothe our colonists for the upcoming winter. And at that point, we decided that it was time to start planning our colony. So we planned out some walls, some production, just to make sure that once we had the materials to build our colony, we would know what we wanted to do with it. Yeah, this big wall is going to have a sort of funnel on the other side, and it's going to funnel colonists right into our wall. Over here, we're going to set up our quarry where we will cut stone and get ready to build our city. And on the 15th of August, we got started on the wall. Now, we properly got started on the 2nd of September, but we made the plans to build it on the 15th of August. Now we can build. And on the 5th of September, the colonists gathered to celebrate Donkey and Black's marriage. Here you can see that they're patiently waiting for everything to arrive, and they're all just mixing and mingling, and Black is there waiting for Donkey, and now it's time for the ceremony. In this ceremony of marriage, Donkey and Black swore solemn vows to stand beside each other through everything that could happen on this harsh world. And once they had married, the colony celebrated, for this is good news, the true beginning of a new tribe and a new colony, one that will one day stretch its reaches out among the stars. But the Rim does not wait for joy to fade. 2 days later, on the 7th of September, we were raided by the Pikes. Only 2 arrived to attack us, and looking at their traits, it seemed like neither of them was desirable to join our colonies. A chemical interest and a pyromaniac. Those would not be good additions to our tribe. We could rest easy knowing we were prepared. The next day they would begin their assault and we would come out to face them. We lined up ready, and they came. He was too far away, but when we approached, we were able to take him down. And thankfully, we were able to take him down quickly. But they had attacked from multiple angles, and Black was downed, as was Gunungfer. Together, the rest of the colonists rallied to save their fallen clanmates, and charged the last raider. Our next order of business would be to get everyone to bed. However, despite our best efforts, Black succumbed to blood loss. A marriage so beautiful and so short. And Green, he suffered from an infection and had to step down from the doctor to receive his own tending, lest we lose him as well. For our first lost colonist, we would build a marble sarcophagus. We will build more sarcophagi as more of us inevitably succumb to this harsh Rimworld. But hopefully, Black will be our only loss for now. Solemnly, on the evening of the 7th, Donkey buried his love, and on the sarcophagus he engraved an image of their wedding to remember and engrave their love in eternity. But as life always does, despite love and loss, life goes on. We continued building our wall and cutting stone and researching. But for Donkey, nothing would ever be the same. On the 12th of September, Donkey and Gunfer working together would finish the research for complex clothing, and we would select our next project, which would be Devil Strand. Devil Strand will allow us to build, and that will be beneficial. However, we were soon assaulted by a mad wild boar. However, much to our dismay, we would soon discover that it was not one mad wild boar, but an entire herd. And as we strove to fight them off, Aardvark was felled. Donkey went in with his melee weapons to attempt to fight off the boars, but he too was downed, and the boars charged green. Donkey had been seriously injured, and Aardvark tried to crawl back to his bed. And eventually we won the day and began making quick work of the beasts that had tried to fell us. Donkey and Aardvark were both returned to their beds, thankfully the only ones in need of medical attention. Both Donkey and Aardvark were on the track to make a full recovery. However, so much loss made Donkey go berserk, and he attacked his colony. He initially went to attack White, but was shot by Gungfer, and unfortunately was re-injured. Unfortunately, these injuries would not be so kind, and Donkey would get an infection. The infection was in his right leg, and had we thought better of it at the time, we could have amputated. However, it did not cross Green's mind. He was not trained as a doctor. This wasn't something he was prepared for. Unfortunately, Donkey would not recover. The infection would become too great, and he would succumb. The second death in our fine colony. It has been less than a year, and we've lost almost half of our colony. We must recruit more, and because ultimately we are all mortal, and we will all shuck this mortal coil. Unfortunately, the Rim does not wait, and we will have little time to mourn. Time is for the living, and we need to work to ensure that we continue to do so. As the new year dawns on this Rimworld, though our numbers may be fewer, let us remember that we are resilient.